What's up, everybody? I am Ethan with Fight Me on This.
I'm Jill. I coach Jill that April.
Welcome back to the podcast. Shifting the Lens podcast, episode 743.
Something like that.
Subscription number 6. I gotta know where we're at now.
You might be right on the subscription.
It's gotta be close. I think it's like subscription number 4 or 5 now. But welcome back. It's great to have you guys. How are you doing? It's good to see you. I can't see you. You can see me.
We hope you're enjoying the weather. I've had many conversations. I'm not going to talk about the weather, but I've had many conversations with clients lately of being like, you really think seasonal depression doesn't exist, hey? And then February rolls around and you're like, whoa, sunshine. So I hope you've been...
I think that I'm going to start doing PSAs in September for all of you moon-driven hoes.
Like, you've almost made it.
That it's like, no, like it's like in September, I'm going to be like, listen, it's not your hormones. It's not the normal things that get you going. It's not the moon being too close to the earth. It's that the sun has fucked off. And you big sad about it. And you're going to be big sad about it because you live in the place where the sun fucks off for incredible amounts of time. And even when it's out, it's minus 45. So you're going to be big sad till about now. Every year.
And then it'll be February and 0 degrees and the sun will come out and you'll remember why you want to live.
And you'll remember that the moon's prettier anyways. So, hi, welcome to the other side of sad, and we're glad to see you glad. Thanks for joining us on the pod. Cast.
Oh, I really thought Everybody got excited for a second.
I'm going to start, setting everybody up. Be like, no, I'm fucking no, I'm not. You can't get me. I'm not letting
do you have a hard?
I don't. She took care of that this morning. Hard's being sick. Hard's burning out. Maybe we'll add this as a thing in our subscription episode too. Is like we put our life on pause when I get sick. When everybody gets sick, yeah, but like especially when I get sick, it's trauma. It's a lot of fun in my body. It's really unnerving for a lot of people.
He's lying to you. It's actually not fun in his body.
It's tough. So I don't have any other energy to put out into the world except for trying to survive it. Those never been talked about. Like Jill always has just put it down with me for those days. So it's hard for us to connect because I'm not okay in my skin a lot of the time. Every time, all the time. I'm in so much pain that being touched is really uncomfortable for me. And because I spent most of my life sick, there is lots of trauma involved in this surviving it. After going through the flashbacks, the memories of being alone in the hospital, all the things. So there's a lot less connection between Jill and I. Jill takes on a much more caretaker role, even though she has to do it at a distance more often than not and just support me in going through it. In very physically visceral ways. So there's not a lot of play. There's not a lot of gentleness. There's not a lot of getting to offload energy like we do every day. If you follow us on TikTok, you can see in moving, we wrestled yesterday for the first time in a week, being able to physically have energy to expend with each other and get to share in a moment. And it hurts both of us every time. It's usually always Jill. I get hurt somebody because I got to catch us both on the way down. Yeah, but like there's the physicality in the moment of just like, oh, it was good I missed you. Like I missed beating your ass. And she missed having her ass beat. And you can hear it in the video, but it's the hard is just being sick, is having no control over my body. It's triggering in its own ways for not having it, feeling like I don't have autonomy and control over this thing. I just have to ride it out and my body is broken. So it's a bumpy fucking ride. Every time. So that's just been hard. It's been hard to know that I let myself burn out. I thought that I recharged. Like I really thought that I was doing okay in that way, but I missed how heavy it's been for me in its entirety and just like how close to burnout I was. And that 36-hour round trip to Moose Jaw and back fucked me. I was okay coming home, and then I could feel the start of it Thursday night when we got home. And yeah, Friday morning I knew I was in for a fucking rough go. And that was the end of that. So yeah, that hard. Just sick.
It's always a sign when and to lots of you, you're gonna be like, what do you mean? But when he sleeps during the day, I last year when we went to Moose Jaw, I always like drive when we leave Moose Jaw. He just like worked all morning. And last year he didn't sleep. He just like sat in the passenger seat. But this year he like actually fell asleep for a while. And it's always a sign that like something's coming when he sleeps, especially like in a moving car. Nobody sleeps well in a moving vehicle, let alone someone who doesn't sleep well in a bed. So the fact that he actually fell asleep for a while is always a sign that like he's running out of steam.
Yeah. Yeah. And like running out of steam in those moments is like usually as hell. Like I knew I was tired and yeah, it would be. Those are like it's yeah, it's not an old man, young man game thing. It's like traveling's tough when it's 8 hours in a vehicle. When you move your body a lot in an 8 hour span, in any 8 hour, or I can move my body for 4 hours, depending on where we are in the day. So like when we leave at 11 o'clock and I've already been to yoga most mornings, or I've already gotten like 6K steps in most mornings by then, to jump in a vehicle for 4 hours, get maybe 1,500 steps in halfway through, and then maybe 1,500 steps in that night. And then I'm into competition in the morning with Shadow, lifting all the weights, unracking, racking, all the things. That gets a ton of physicality for 4.5, 5 straight hours with him going at it from warm-ups to finishing, and then into a vehicle for 8 hours. And just when you don't move your body when it's used to moving it, there's always something up. But holy shit. Yep, it was a good time. How about your heart?
I don't know if I have like one specific thing that sticks out for me this week. There's just been like, I explained it to a client yesterday. Like, I feel like I have 8,000 open tabs in my brain right now. And I operate with like
4,000, not 8.
Yeah, like a couple thousand open tabs in my brain. I run a business, so like any business owner knows you don't get to operate with like one tab open for your day. So like I operate with quite a few tabs open most of the time. But it feels like I can't keep track of mine lately, and that will always frustrate me. Like I know I've asked Ethan the same question 7 times in the last 2 weeks, and like it's even I'll like tell him something and then he's like, you said this, right? And I'm like, I don't remember. So it's like nothing's retaining in my brain right now. So that's starting to get frustrating. And like I keep a to-do list for work and that's fine. But like I could not tell you one thing that's on that to-do list right now. And usually like even though it's on my computer, it's also in my brain. So yeah, not really one specific thing. I just have like a lot of running tabs right now with moving and still working and Ethan being sick and our roommate is sick and like that's like them being sick. I'm not sick, but like I made sure they were both fed dinner last night and like having to just like keep tabs on what feels like everyone and everything right now is starting to get a little much, but like it's also Ethan and I talked about last night the season of life we're in right now. Like I run a business full time. I have a dog I have to feed myself. We're packing an entire house. I'm still like finalizing the last pieces of getting our new house. So like it is what it is for the next week, but it's always frustrating when you feel like you can't keep track of your own things. And I know it in the moment because I like ask Ethan a question and then like the way he responds, I'm like, I've already asked this question, but like there's no piece of my brain that can remember his answer. So yeah, I said it to somebody the other day. I was like, bless Ethan's patience of me being like, I know we've had this conversation, but like bear with me because I can't recall
Ethan's patience runs out after 3. Like, I got it. I'm like, okay, hey.
And that's when I know like I'm actually like not functioning how I usually am because we usually don't get to that point. Like it's usually like once or twice, and then I notice his annoyance, and I'm like, "Fuck! How many times have I asked him this question?"
I'm confident. Like it is usually when it pertains to numbers, because like, we can have. Like, I don't hold numbers well, so we never talks about numbers or timing or whatever the fuck we have it the day before. So everybody's on the same page, and the next day the same question was up. And I'm like, I was there for that. Don't do that to me because I got my brain. We all know me. My brain. I'm not always here. I dissociate like that. So I'm like, I had this conversation yesterday. I was here. No. What did I do last night? So now I got to go through my whole fucking day and make sure I was sober enough to hear her yesterday. It wasn't me. It was her. But I got to go through thinking it was my motherfucking brain that did the thing. Like, oh, no. Yeah, okay. You and me were here 9:30 last night. Okay, good. Same shit. Yeah. There's too many crazies in here.
I'm trying my best.
Like, when our crazies bounce off each other, it's a fucking weird time in this house.
It's going to be fine. Everything's fine. We're fine.
We always make it.
What's your joy?
I haven't had a lot of joy. I've been pretty fucking sick. I've been really sick. I haven't had no joy. It just has like, there's just no joy in that level of sickness. And it is always that level of sickness for me. It's been way better now. I used to get sick like that every other month. But like,
it's far less frequent.
Like, you can tell two things about my health state when I get sick. Where my mental health is and where my nutrition has been. Those two things are dictated in how sick I actually get and like how it registers in my body. If I've been good on my nutrition, it almost never makes it all the way into my throat where like I can't swallow either. Like the real sick that hospitalizes me. If I my nutrition, my food's been good. Greens being healthy, usually okay. I still get that weird level of sick. Everywhere else in my being though. It's fascinating. I've learned in the last couple of years, and it spreads it out more, which is nice. Once every 6 months or once a year right now.
Yeah, I think it's happened.
This is the second time that I've been this sick since we've been together.
Yeah, like third, but the first one happened like before I officially lived here.
Yeah.
Your smoothie matches your pants today, so that's fun.
Right. My smoothie matches your pants on my body.
I like how you're always in color and I'm always.
I don't think I've ever worn green and yellow together, but I like it.
Those work because neither of them are like
bright. They're like
they're both like muted.
Yeah, they're not even like that like pale pastel, not quite, but like muted loud, which is nice. It's like a matte loud. It's very good. Yeah, joy. I just haven't surviving and feeling a little bit better, but even that's like, it lingers in me. Like I know, I know I'm not all the way there. I can hear it in my voice a lot, which is fine. It's kind of fun in my voice, but it's just like I feel in my system I'm not having the best day in my skin today. And on the way out of being sick, like because I haven't moved, regaining that autonomy, my body's mad at me, and not like at me. It's just mad. It's mad that it hasn't been able to move. It wants to lift heavy. It wants to be bendy. So like every muscle that's normally moving is freaking out, and it's making me I'm not trying to move. I'm trying to sit still, but it's making me very uncomfortable. And that's just a part of healing, is that on the way out, as I gain that autonomy to do shit, it's just a hissy fit of I've been stagnant for 5 days in a body that likes to move too much.
Get the walking pad and just be walking while we podcast.
Yeah. What's your joy?
My joy is that I hit a business goal in what month just happened? February. Had to think about that for a second. I'm not telling you the specifics because I don't have to. But it just feels cool to hit like a goal that I've had in my brain for a while. And I know I talked about like a business win a couple episodes ago as well. So just cool to kind of like watch my business flow a little bit more. Like me and my manager especially put in a lot of work in 2024 to like build the groundwork of my business, have the proper offers, have the proper like coaching, have the proper content. And it was a little bit of like a trust the process. 2024 was not a growth year for me business wise. So it's cool to kind of like hit the ground running in 2025 and be like, okay, like we took a little bit of a hit in 2024 so that things can just like flow the way they needed to this year. It feels like good in conversations with clients to have different offers for them. It feels easy to like find the right offer for people. And then having that show monetary wise is always a nice little like, yeah, it is working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So see what the year brings. We had a couple questions come in that are a little bit more like specific around polyamory, and questions I don't think we've answered like in depth.
One of them in passing, I think, like you and I talked about, but yeah.
The first question we got was, in order to be poly, do you have to... Sorry. From the top. In order to be poly, do you have to like your metamors? Do you have to want to hang out with them?
Okay, I like it.
First thing, in case you're unfamiliar with what metamor means, because I know somebody just heard that word and was like, what in the fuck? Metamor would be one of Ethan's partners, but it's in relation to me. So Ethan's partners are not my partners, but we...
I will explain it to you this way. One person, two person, me. Jill, Emily, me. Go. The two fingers be metamors. This motherfucker be the hinge between the metamors. The hinge being me, the thing that makes these two connect. Yeah. They don't have to connect, but they are metamors because they are connected by the hinge. Puppets, children.
Yeah. But yeah, a metamor would be somebody like one of Ethan's partners, and like the reason we have a connection is because of Ethan.
Yeah. Metamor. It's such a fun word. You wanted me to answer that?
No, I was just waiting till you were done coughing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in order, so we'll start with part 1. Mm-hmm. In order to be poly, do you have to like your metamors?
In order to be poly, you have to subscribe to and identify with the reality that you love many and are capable of being loved by many. That is what polyamory is. It is the love of many. So by talking that out with you just there, the answer would be no. You can't be polyamorous if you don't want to like or be around the other people involved with the person you love. That's not polyamory from where I sit. But that might just be an opinion.
No, I think like if you don't want to have any type of relationship, connection, friendship, whatever the fuck it might turn into with your partner's people, then you're probably non-monogamous, not poly. Like if you are like, I'm fine with that
don't
person.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah,
all of those
like
things
I'm fine with you sleeping with other people, but I don't want to know about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to meet them.
That's not polyamory. It's just not.
That's non-monogamy. Go be friends with benefits with whoever you want, and don't like. I had a don't ask, don't tell in high school. That doesn't mean I was poly in high school. Mm-hmm. It just meant I didn't care if somebody was sleeping with other people. Far different than now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we really do try to iron out the vernacular for you guys so that you understand why it's not coming from a place of judgment or talking shit. Like, I'm gonna talk shit, when that's happening. But in defense of this beautiful thing, in defense of the fact that we bastardize love as it is already. Christians do it all the time. Vol, don't fucking want to fight about it. Really, I get worked up and defend this beautiful thing, this ability to love freely and openly as I get to. And it changes nothing for Jill because she also gets to do the same thing. The dog gets to do the same thing. The dog's probably the one that benefits the most out of being polyamorous in this
I
motherfucker.
think Nola's like, I don't know why there's
Nola
so many people
literally
here all the time, but keep them coming.
has never had this many people in her life, and every like month there's a new face and a new best friend. Anyways, but like the question itself is a bit. It comes from a place of either ignorance or just toxicity, maybe even a bit of both. Because up front, if someone I engage in connection with doesn't want to know Jill, then I will not engage in that connection. How could you possibly want to do life with somebody, being polyamorous, that you're connecting with, and not want to know about what brings them safety, joy, peace? How are you going to be in their home? I'm sure as fuck not asking anybody in this house to leave for you. Are you out of your goddamn mind? Like, so when I say it like that, like for me in my life, it would never fit. I just also know in my soul of souls, I am through and through unequivocally polyamorous. In my soul.
Yeah, I think this is something I've talked about more on my end, and people ask me this question often of, like, what happens if Ethan meets someone and they don't want to meet you? Like, I've gotten that question hundreds of times. What happens if Ethan makes a connection and they don't like you? Then don't come in my house. Mm-hmm. Like, it's that, and I say that point blank to people all the time. Like, I'm like, first of all, like, I have full trust in Ethan that he would be like, all right, then I'm good. But also, like, if nothing else, that person would never come into this house. You don't want to know me. You don't want to meet me. You've already decided you don't like me. That's fine, but then get out of my house.
The same is true for Brian. If someone didn't want to meet Brian, then go the fuck away. Well, like, this is not just a Jill thing. This is people in my life thing. Like, if you didn't want, like, if Jesse, my mentor, you know him, you see him, if he's over and someone's like, oh, I don't want to meet Jesse, I mean, he's one of the most pivotal members of my circle, and you don't, then fuck off. Like, I don't. And we've like, you're sorry to tell you, you're the least important out of the things that I have created to keep me safe and be the male in front of you. And you like this, but you want none of that. I'm good. I worked too hard to build this thing, to have you come in here and do whatever the fuck you think you're trying to do.
And we've had to navigate this in many ways, many times, and different if you're like, there's a lot of people in your house. You're right. There's a lot of people in this house. And like, maybe you don't want to meet,
that's a great point,
30 of them at once. That's fine. But like, if you've already decided you don't want to meet me, you don't want to meet Brian, you don't want to meet Ethan's other people, whatever, like we've had to navigate that before. Like, then why are you actually here? Like, if you just hypothetically want just me or just Ethan, then like, this is not the space for you. If you want to operate in a little bubble of like, it's just me and him, or it's just me and Jill and nobody else exists, then like, you're lying to yourself, and this is never gonna work. Just because you don't meet someone doesn't mean they don't exist. Mm-hmm. You can only pretend there's no other people for so long.
Yeah. Like, there's no way you're happy pretending someone doesn't exist. Like, you have to deal with the person coming from that person. I know I'm different when I leave this house. Like, you think that isn't noticed? At some point, you're going to get annoyed by the fact that they're always happy coming to you and miserable when they leave. Because that's exactly what happens. I'll let you untangle your panties. Settle down.
And I've, like, real life had, not between the two of us, but, like, have met with people that are poly or non-monogamous, whatever, where their husbands, their partners have other partners that want to know nothing about them. And I'm like, that is a crazy concept to me. Like, if somebody ever was like, yeah, I think you're cool, but I don't want to hear about Ethan, I'd be like, so not like, I have other topics I can talk about, but like, you never. So if I go to the mountains for the weekend, you just want me to pretend I went by myself? Like, that's a crazy concept to me, to be like, how was your Tuesday? Be like, okay, so I can tell them about my day, but I can't say anything about Ethan. Like, now I'm having to like retell my life to make you comfortable.
And you're lying, because I'm here.
Like, yeah, I drank coffee by myself and then made breakfast and then podcasted by myself. Like, that would
No, you don't hear his voice. That's a figment of your black imagination.
He wasn't there. Don't worry. Like, that's wild. And I just think like, that means you're not actually here for the right reasons. You just like think someone's cool, or you just want to sleep with them, and you're willing to just like ignore the rest of their life to get what you want out of it. And I also think like people like that are just going to hurt their own feelings eventually. And I've watched it happen where I'm like, oh, yeah, you're going to get your feelings hurt being here. And then a couple months later, they get their feelings hurt. And I'm like, weird. Knew that was coming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, to answer the question plainly, you don't have to like anybody.
We're all humans. We're
You
not going
don't
to
have to
like
hang
everyone.
out. Jill, I had a new connection over for coffee and lunch the other day before we left for Saskatchewan, and Jill was like, I'm not really vibing people today. I'm not cool, love. Mwah. We'll be here. Say hi. Don't. Zero offense. Like, what the fuck would I be upset if Jill looks me in the eye and says, I don't want to talk to nobody? Cool. That, I know those days better than most. Love you. I know you're home. Come get your kiss when you want. Come say hi. She does the things. She puts on her brave face and puts on her mask for 17 seconds to come down, say hi, make nice, and away she goes. And there's not a single person that is worth having around ever gets offended by that.
Yeah, and like nor should they. Like as
No.
much as like I live in this house, if you're here to make connection with Ethan, it shouldn't actually matter to you if I hang out with you or not. And I think like for me and Ethan, that was a conversation early on of like, just tell me what's up. Like you don't want to hang out with us, just like give me a heads up so that either of us aren't sitting here being like, why the fuck are they hiding upstairs? So that it's not like distracting from whatever connection is here to be like, why has Ethan been upstairs for the last 2.5 hours? So we'll typically give each other a heads up of like, I'm not really feeling it, or I'm going to go do something upstairs, whatever. And once that routine, like if somebody's here more consistently, if like a routine has been established, and like nobody really asks any questions, but I don't want Ethan thinking I have a problem with the person in our house. I don't want the person in our house thinking I have a problem with them. So it's far easier to just be like, this is what I'm going to be up to. Well, a human is here.
Yeah.
Don't be offended.
Yeah, so like up front as human beings, you don't have to like anybody. And no, you don't ever have to hang out with them. But misinterpreting polyamory and ethical non-monogamy is the problem with that question up front. Because no, you can't be polyamorous and not like the other person that you're involved with. No matter, that's like a friend not liking a friend. Does it ever work for you in the middle? Where you got to jump friend to friend, and you know they don't like each other? Does that ever work for the hinge? In your case, the middle person, the motherfucker you're fighting over to tear into and actually ripping their heart into because you're fighting over something that you don't own, which is fucking crazy. Anyways, I'm turning off point. Let me digress. I'm gonna take a breath. Didn't help. That's okay. You hear what I mean? Like, it never works on your side of how you choose to love people, which is by separating your love into friends and family and all that shit, which is wild. But when two friends hate each other and you're in the middle, how's that ever go? Because you sure as fuck never patch it up. If it's an actual hatred, an actual dislike, that's never patched up. So you're torn. Those aren't two friends groups you get to hang out with. Those are people that speak ill of each other, and you're in the middle. Now, bring that situation over into where there's like livelihoods and love and relationships involved at stake. Can't really function that way. So
Yeah.
no,
And
you can't.
Different if you have a legitimate concern. Like if I ever was like, hey, this person is harmful in X, Y, and Z ways. Like it's not because I'm like, oh, I don't really like them. It would be different if there's like an actual concern for Ethan's safety, well-being, whatever. But like I think walking into it being like, I don't want to like him, I don't want to hang out with him, I don't want to know him, means you're not actually poly.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's a healthy version of that question the way that it was asked from whoever asked it. It screams insecurities up front, and that's fine. But as we've said and beat the horse to death now, it's polyamorous people are here because they love each other through and through deeply in whatever capacity that looks like for them. Ethical non-monogamy or non-monogamy, whatever other tagline you want to go by, has a far wider reach of it's not monogamy. That's why it's called that. Um,
Yeah, we had a conversation before we started recording about like I read this question very differently than like Ethan did, which I think is interesting too. Like I read it from a metamor standpoint of like, wait, and more of like the almost like anxious way to ask it of like, wait, do I have to like everyone? Do I have to hang out with everyone? Of more of like a does this go sideways if I don't like someone? Does this go sideways if I don't want to hang out with someone? And more of that like anxious ask versus Ethan read it as like, but like, do I have to like everyone?
mm-hmm.
Do I have to hang out with everyone? Um, where I'm sure at some point that was a question I asked Ethan of like, what happens if me and someone don't get along, or like, what happens if me and someone aren't friends? And like, yeah, we're humans.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like Jill doesn't have veto power. It's not. We don't practice that shit. This isn't hierarchical. This
yeah,
isn't that shit. So
I don't have veto, but I also don't have to be everyone's best
yeah.
friend. Like we can function in the same rooms. We can say hi. I can say how was your day, how was work, whatever, and then they can be here to hang with Ethan. I can go upstairs and do something, but that doesn't mean I don't like them. That doesn't mean Ethan can't be around them. It's just like I am a human. They are a human. We don't have to be best friends with each
Mm-hmm.
other.
Yeah, but Jill will always respect them if I choose to keep them in my space, whether that's here or out there or whatever. But like in my orbit, uh, it's a mutual respect from both parties. And if one doesn't, for whatever reason, choose to respect, it gets addressed by me because that's my job. I'm I'm the thing in the middle. Um, it's not to keep balance; it's to keep my peace. But at the end of the day, that's the point of getting to love multiple people. Is everybody adds to my peace. If somebody takes from it, therein lies the rub.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it also like you just have to be an adult about it sometimes, and I don't say that in a like you have to suck it up and save face. It's more of like I very much understand that not everybody that walks in this door is going to be my best friend and vice versa. And if somebody walks in expecting that same thing, like you're probably going to get your feelings hurt. I don't really carry that many best friends to begin with. So, like, unless I tell you I don't like you, don't assume I don't like you. I also think is an important part of like navigating this life of like, just because I don't sit beside you on the couch for 4 hours doesn't mean I have something against you. It's just like, you also have to be an adult on both sides of this and understand that people can show respect and be friendly and say hi and have a conversation. It doesn't have to be like, and now all of us are hanging out for the next eight
Mm-hmm.
hours.
Yeah, yeah. It's Jill and I obviously choose to live a more kitchen table version of this life, but at the same time, there's a very sectioned off way that we live, and that's for both of our individual sanity, but as our sanity as a team. It takes a lot of communication, a lot of conversations, and the conversation is allowed to change. It's always bringing in new things, new information, new factors, new people, new settings, new experiences, and conversations get to be had again. And then again, boundaries change. Inside of kink, outside of kink, in polyamory, in monogamy, boundaries change and shift all the time. So you should always be having that conversation anyway. What's question number two?
Uh, um, do you have to have multiple partners to be poly?
No. No. The ability, the capacity, but do you need to? No. There's been many times when I've looked at Jill in this life and been like, if we ever did run away, I'd still be good, and for as long as it took for someone else to find us in the middle of nowhere. Because there's just a lot about this life that is just the freedom to be loved. It gives me the freedom to be me all the time. I do currently have other partners, but whether I have other partners or not. Whether Jill and I are together or not, I am polyamorous. I love many and receive love from many. That is how I how I'm wired, how I will operate till the day I stop drawing breath on this earth. The journey ebbs and flows. There's many times that I think that I would be completely content to be polyamorous with Jill for an extended period of time. And then I meet a new human and I'm like, I like people. They're just fun. But no, it's not a prerequisite to have multiple partners to be polyamorous. Most of us, if not all of us, figure it out while we're single.
I only have one partner. I'm still poly. And like full transparency, that's something like I've gotten in my head about before of being like, but Ethan has multiple partners and I don't. And it's a conversation Ethan and I have had when it comes up for me, because sometimes it is hard to be like, not that like my life isn't great with Ethan, but
yeah,
it's also easy to get in your head of like, am I doing something wrong? That he has multiple partners and I don't. But we've also had the conversation of like, we have far different nets we're casting at a very base level when it comes to looking for more partners as well. I also like navigating being poly as a female versus male are two very different experiences. So it would make sense that like our relationships outside of each other would look different as well. But like the option is still there. If the right person comes around, it's just finding that person.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make me any less poly that Ethan's my only partner currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that probably long answered both of those questions, but what else is new on the pod? Yeah, I think like Cole's notes is like every relationship, metamor or partners, is going to look different. You don't have to do it one specific way to count as poly, but if you're writing people off before you meet them, you're probably not going to last long in this life.
Yeah, you're going to burn yourself out chasing something that's not real. Mostly because your settings on your search and destroy are off. That's all.
And if you want to don't ask, don't tell, then
please do that. Like, fuck off if you think we're judging you.
You also don't have to have a label. I also think this is
this is like what
and I'm
going
to try not to make this episode 400 minutes long, but like you don't have to label yourself as poly. You don't have to label yourself as anything. You can go sleep with 8 different people together or separately. I don't care. You don't have to put a label on yourself. And this is something like without taking a hard left of why I think like being gay didn't stress me out, because I didn't feel like I needed to label myself. Like I wasn't sitting here being like, I gotta figure out if I can say I'm gay or not. I was just like, you know what, cross that bridge when we get there. And like same with your relationship dynamics, same with the way you want to live this life. Like you don't have to be like, hey, I gotta figure out what I am and how I'm gonna do it right now. You can just like go and figure it out and see where you land and what feels right and what makes sense for you, and then pick a label or don't. I don't fucking care. But you don't have to like get stuck on, I need to fit into this label.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Technically it's a podcast.
And end scene.
Love you, bye.
You can find us at Shifting the Lens Podcast on everything. You should probably know that by now, but YouTube, all the platforms, Instagram. We are on TikTok. I, at some point in my life, will get more consistent about posting over there, but it's hard to keep up with all the social medias all the time.
A lot.
You can find Ethan at Bite Me on This, and you can find me at CoachJill.April. See ya.